Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. My name is Fardin, and I'm the moderator of this event. And today, we are so happy to host a very special guest. We are honored to welcome Professor Rachel Wicaksono from the University of East London. She is an accomplished academic whose work focuses on English language teaching, linguistic diversity, and teacher education. And today, she will be presenting her talk titled Changing Englishes, the Development and Evaluation of an Online Course for Teachers. And it's a great pleasure to have her with us today. And without further ado, I would like to give the words to Professor Wicaksono. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Farlin. That's very kind. I hope you can hear me okay. And it's great to see you here. I'm honoured to be invited to contribute to this event. And I hope to speak for about 20 minutes, maybe a little less, about my topic, which is changing Englishes. And I'll just try and show you my slides. Let's see if this works. And I will try and switch over to slideshow. Yeah, so hopefully that's all okay and you can see my first slide. Yeah, great. So thank you again for the invitation. Really appreciate it. I'm going to be talking to you today about the development and evaluation of an online course for teachers. And so let's get started. I'm going to give you a brief outline of the talk, and then we'll go into a little bit more detail about the research that underpins the online course. I'll talk to you about the course, and then I'll talk to you briefly about how we evaluated the effectiveness or the impact of that course. And hope that when you've listened to my talk, you'll go and check out our course and enjoy participating in the community of English language teachers that have interacted with those materials. And just as a quick mention of the bonus, if you do the online course that I'm going to talk to you about, and complete that, you get a certificate from the University of York St John, which is where that course was developed. So I'll talk to you a little bit more about the benefits of the course in a minute. All right.
Professor, sorry to interrupt, but right now we cannot see your screen.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let me stop sharing then, and then I'll try again. Okay. Right. Can you see my slides now?
Yes, now we can. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So let's do it like this. All right. Okay. All right. So back to the outline of my talk. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about English. We are all English teachers, and we often talk a lot about how to teach English, what is the most effective way or what is the most fun way of teaching English, what's the best way of assessing our students' English proficiency. But I wonder if we so often talk about what English is. And my feeling, having been an English language teacher and also trained English language teachers and then taught English language teachers on a master's programme in ELT and in TESOL here in the UK, my feeling is that that question of what is English was not asked so often as the other questions I mentioned, such as how to teach English, or even sometimes why do students want to learn English. So the what question I found was less often asked. And I got very interested in that question, and that came from my experience of teaching students in the UK on master's programs. We were in often multilingual and mixed nationality groups with many different varieties of English. And I think it was that experience of teaching are working with English language teachers with many different varieties of English that made that question even more interesting to me and to some of the students I was working with it. So we started to ask that question, that what is English question. We had lots of interesting classroom conversations once we'd started to get interested in the what question. And then me and some students and some other staff at the university where I was working at the time, which was York St John University, we designed a research project to explore what teachers think English is. How do they think about English? How do they conceptualize? What is their idea of English? And so together with some students on that programme, me and some colleagues at York St John University started in a more structured way to research those questions. And we were really interested in what teachers think English is, and what are the benefits and drawbacks of those different understandings of English for ourselves as teachers, but also for our students. We talked to lots of teachers about this question of understandings of English. And we thought when we talked to the teachers, we often heard that one of the benefits of widely held understandings of English were familiarity, lots of teaching materials already published, and ideas that were very popular with parents and school leaders. But the more we considered these popular ideas of what English is, we asked ourselves, are these ideas about what English is, are they true? Are they fair? Are they sustainable? And are they helpful? And we started to doubt that the benefits of these widely held understandings outweighed the drawbacks. So we went more deeply into that question. We researched and we published the findings, and I'll show you how to access those findings. And then we went on to create a website for those findings to help teachers explore their ideas of what English is. And then we measured and reported the impact of the online CPD that we created for teachers. Okay, so a quick backtrack. I was teaching really lovely students from all over the world with my colleague, Professor Chris Hall. And together with those students, we decided to design a research project to explore these questions of what is English. So we got some funding from the British Council and we designed a project. The first project we did was in China. We're working with some of our students from China. And what we found is that many of the teachers we talked to didn't think about what English is. They accepted a widely held assumption or status quo idea, generalized assumption that English exists as a sort of monolith with a center and with clear borders, with right and with wrong, often related to ideas about native speaker, rather than what we'd seen in the class, which was multiple varieties of English that changed depending on the task that we were doing and who we're talking to. So you can read that research. It's online. It's free to access through the British Council, and that was our first attempt to answer the question, what is English? So next, after that, based on that work, we got some more funding from the British Council and we designed this website, www.changingenglishers.online. And this is a web-based course, which I'm going to tell you a little bit about now, which is aimed at teachers and helps them to explore what English is and what the benefits and drawbacks of different ways of thinking about English are for themselves and for their pupils. So that's me. I'm a professor of education, and there is my colleague, Professor Hall, who is still at York St John University, where we did this teaching and we built these CPD resources for teachers. Okay, so what did we want to include in our online resources for teachers? We wanted to encourage teachers to realize that English is constantly changing and changing faster than ever before. So English is not static. It doesn't stay the same like all languages. It's on the move. It's always changing. And the people who change it are its users, including learners and teachers. And of course, they change it by using it. They are adapting it to their local needs. And this is what linguists know happens to all languages. And this is one of the reasons why all languages are always on the move. We also explore the idea that English is not a foreign language. So we definitely should stop talking about TEFL and teaching English as a foreign language. It's not a relevant idea anymore. One reason is because English is spread so widely around the world, and you'll all be very familiar with that fact. And the other reason is that it's very diverse. And so to represent it as English, just singular, not pluralized, but singular, misrepresent the diversity of the reality of English. So we thought this was rather an urgent issue, and we designed the course to raise awareness. The course is for English language teachers, both very experienced or teachers that have just started their training. So the materials are available to teachers wherever they work in the world. The course is free to access. It's Creative Commons, so you are welcome to copy the ideas, the text, the pictures, as long as you say where you got the ideas from. It's Creative Commons, so it's open source and free to copy. And in fact, if you're responsible for teacher development or teacher training, we have got some ideas on there about how you might use the materials on our course, how you might adapt them for local use if you're responsible for teacher training or teacher development workshops. Okay, so these are some of the questions that the course asks. So there's the what is English question, how is it used, how is it learned in the classroom and beyond the classroom, encouraging teachers to reflect on what does this mean for my teaching, and also more broadly, can I influence policy about English language learning, teaching and use? So we don't offer very many resources ready for you to use in the classroom, and we definitely don't tell you how to teach or how you should teach. But we do want to raise awareness of what English is in a way that is relevant to you and useful for your students. So here we go. Aims of the course are raising awareness and thinking about the implications of new thinking about what English is as dynamic and as a global language. We want to encourage teachers to develop their own materials which are relevant to the reality of global Englishes, but also relevant for their own students' local needs. And we've got throughout the course some practical suggestions that you might be able to adapt. Okay, so now just a very quick overview. There are 5 different units on the course, so it's quite long. And if you do all of it, it will take hours and hours and hours. And you can, of course, do all of it if you'd like to, but you can also select the bits that seem most relevant to you. If you make a contribution to the discussion boards in each of the units and then complete a questionnaire at the end, you will get your certificate from York St John University, and that's free of charge. We just hope that you'll do the course. So introduction tells you a little bit about what the course is about and how to get the certificate at the end. In Unit 1, we talk about what English is. How can we define English? And we talk about these two words here, monolithic and pluralithic conceptualizations or understandings of what English is. So this is a screenshot from one of the pages in Unit 1. How do you think about English? Is it like a planet or is it like a galaxy? So a planet has a center, it has clear borders, but a galaxy is constantly changing, has no clear border and no center. So the more monolithic ideas are these ones associated with a planet, and the more pluralithic ideas are associated with English as a galaxy. And here's some feedback. So on the course, there are questions, you get a chance to reflect, and then you can click on feedback. The course is quite interactive, and there will be some suggested answers to your questions. So it's quite easy to do on your own, or you can do it with a group of teachers in the school or the university where you work. Okay, in Unit 2, we look at how English is actually used around the world. And in the UK, where there is a lot of regional diversity, and of course around the world, where there is a lot of further diversity as English gets mixed in with other languages spoken around the world, and when it gets used as a lingua franca between different speakers of different languages. And of course, English also varies depending on who we're talking to. For example, if we're trying to be polite, or the task that we're doing, there's just a huge amount of variety. In Unit 3, we think about learning English and how sometimes what linguists know about language use, for example, that it's dynamic, it's context specific. Sometimes we as teachers perhaps not forget, but we can put that to one side sometimes in a classroom and start to think about English as if it is a subject like geography or history, when of course teaching language is very different from teaching those other subjects. So we talk about the difference between the language subject in classrooms and the object language in which exists in individual minds and brains, and which changes every time it gets used. So an educational perspective, the first one, contrasted with a linguistic perspective. We talk about how these more pluralistic ideas can relate to how we teach and assess English, and that is tricky because it might mean doing things that are very new or different for teachers. For example, when a student asks you if something is an error or if something is wrong, your answer might be, it depends. It depends on who you're speaking to, where you're using your English. In some contexts, that way of speaking is the best way of speaking. If it meets your communicative needs, then it's the best way of speaking. In other contexts, for example, if you're taking a test, it might be considered an error. But the correctness of English is not in the English itself, it's in its use in a specific context. And that's sometimes a bit of a tricky or a difficult, challenging concept to get across to our students who expect us as teachers to say, yes, it's right, or yes, it's wrong. And from this pluralistic perspective, we can't say that. So yeah, interesting conversations to have with your students. All right, on the course, you'll find a whole bunch of other resources, suggested readings, websites, how to use it if you do teacher development workshops, how to adapt it using the Creative Commons license, and how to get your certificate from York St John University. Okay, so that's the main part of my talk finished. I wanted to encourage you to have a look at changing Englishes and to challenge yourself and your other colleagues in school and your students to ask that question, what is English? Now, the evaluation part, it's the second part of my title. We're very keen to evaluate the impact of our research and of our Changing English's website. We want to know if it changes your beliefs about what English is, and we want to know if it changes your behaviour as a teacher. And so there are several questionnaires and discussion boards where we ask you those questions. And the reason we do that is because we find that evaluating the impact of our research helps us discover new collaborations with new teachers who want to work with us on these research questions. It helps us develop our own thinking about what English is. For example, towards more post-humanist lines, we might like to think of linguistic resources as on a par or level with other more physical resources that we find in our classroom, such as chairs and tables. And those are fascinating new research areas. We want to check the findings. Are they useful to other teachers? The university where I work now describes itself as an impact-first university. So we are particularly interested in research that makes a difference to people's beliefs and behaviours. We love involving students in our research. That's always very, very interesting. And of course, new research ideas can lead to new funding so that our research continues. Okay, and this is my last slide. So just at the bottom of that slide, you'll see the British Council online research paper. So that was back in 2013, a long time ago now. That was the work that we did with our students, the first project that we did with our students. So that's on the British Council website. We then went on to write a journal article for the International Journal of Applied Linguistics, in which we developed some of these ideas. Next, Chris Hall, Professor Hall, and I had a workshop at York St John University where we invited people to talk about this idea of ontology here. That just means what things are, what we think things are. And we then published those papers in this edited collection of chapters. My chapter there is about native speakerism and how ideas about English relate to native speakerism. And then the most recent publication just come out at the end of last year. We contributed a chapter in which some of those new ideas that we have about English are captured in that chapter. So that is it. That's my 20 minutes, I think more than my 20 minutes up for my talk about changing Englishes and how we designed our CPD for teachers based on our research findings and how we evaluate the impact of those findings. So thank you, Farlin and colleagues. And if there are any questions, I'd be very happy to answer them now.
Thank you, Professor, for your very informative presentation. And also thank you for creating such a valuable course for teachers. And I personally am planning to attend the course, so thank you for that.
Great.
If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to share them. You can raise hands or you can type them down and I can read them.
Thank you so much, Farlin. And I really hope that you enjoy the course and find it useful. And we're always very interested in feedback. So please do let me know on the discussion boards, or you've got my email address. So please do let me know if it changes how you think about what English is.
Thank you. I will keep in mind.
Thank you.
So I think we don't have questions for now. So on behalf of the New York Linguistics Academy, again, I would like to thank you, Professor, for such an inspiring presentation. And we truly appreciate the time and expertise you have shared with us today again. So I also want to thank our attendees for attending our webinar today. And okay, Colin says thank you. And we look forward to seeing you all at our next event.
Thank you so
again,
much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
And again, thank you, Professor.
Thank you, everyone. Really great to meet you. And I look forward to seeing your future events recorded on your YouTube channel, which I will subscribe to and follow your future activities. But I'm really honoured to do this work. And thank you, everybody. And goodbye. Nice to meet you all. Goodbye.
Nice to meet you too. We are honored to have you today. Goodbye.
All right. Goodbye, everyone. Bye-bye.